Body Punch Podcast. My name is Naz. One of our sport's greatest superstars just tweeted out that he's relinquishing the belt. A man known for winning at all cost. A man synonymous with the sport. He's synonymous with the light heavyweight belt. For most people that watch the sport, the whole time that they've been watching, the light heavyweight champion has been Jon Jones. And today, Jon Jones, like I said, has tweeted out that he's relinquishing the light heavyweight belt. He's talked about going up in weight for a very long time. He's talked about fighting fighters at a lower weight division like Idris Adesanya. We all knew that he had the capability to go up to the heavyweight division. We just watched Stipe versus Daniel Cormier. Two of the smallest heavyweights in terms of weight with Stipe and in terms of height with Daniel Cormier, but at the height of the division. So we knew that if these two fighters could be at the top, then we knew that Jon Jones would thrive there. Including all of the tweets that he had, and I'm going to get to this later on in the podcast. Jon Jones talked about his two brothers who are both in the NFL. And he said that, look at the size of those guys. Look at the genetics that I have on my side. The weight's totally going to work for me. And I agree, and so do a lot of people. Jon Jones, who has been winning for such a long time, who has a record of 26 wins and 1 loss, and that 1 loss is not even counted as a loss because it was a bad elbow thrown. And it came out to be illegal. Jon Jones, when he puts on this weight, I think it's going to agree with his body. And it's going to work out exactly the way that he's thinking and the way that he tweeted out. At light heavyweight, Jon Jones has abs. He looks skinny. Imagine when he fills out his body. He fills out his frame. Even dominating in the light heavyweight division, Jon Jones has the longest reach out of any fighter. That includes heavyweights like Stefan Struve. Imagine what he's going to look like when he goes to the heavyweight division. He's going to look incredible. And just by watching the previous fight, like I mentioned, with Stipe and DC, you can see that, and this includes past fights in the heavyweight division, the movement that Jon Jones is capable of doing will allow him to have an edge on all the heavyweights. The techniques that he throws are unheard of at that division. I think that Jon Jones is going to have a masterclass in the striking department. He is not bad at all in the grappling department. He's overall great at everything. And he's going to bring a different layer to the heavyweight division that I believe will just push the whole division up. The timing for this tweet is pretty funny as well. Just coming off of the fight between DC and Stipe. DC being a longtime rival for Jon Jones. A lot of people had speculations that Jon Jones would be closely watching these fights due to the fact that he knows what Daniel Cormier is capable of. And he's going to use it as somewhat of a benchmark on if he wants to join the heavyweight division. Jon Jones is a lot of things, but him and his team are super calculated. He doesn't even take short notice fights. And that made me believe that he would be very technical in his approach to the heavyweight division. He's going to use benchmarks like DC. I believe he watched that fight, he made up his mind, and he knew that he was capable of dominating the heavyweight division as well. I think he's also seen past fights in the heavyweight division that leads him to believe that he has an upper edge in the higher weight division. Like I said before, the movement that Jon Jones is capable of is unheard of in that division. But what he did to the 205 division, where he totally dominated everybody, aside from Reyes, who some believe deserves his rematch because he was the actual one who won the fight between Jones and himself. Which is, I believe it's kind of sad to see, because the one man who was closest to beating Jon Jones, in my opinion, is not getting his rematch. I believe he'll fight for the belt, but it's not the same as fighting Jon Jones, who, if he does beat him, if he ever gets the chance, he will be regarded in the history books as the one that took down the greatest of all time in this era. But back to the calculated nature of this decision. Jon Jones, his approach is unlike any that I've seen in the UFC. I would put it up there with GSP's return fight with Michael Bisping. One of the most calculated moves in the UFC. GSP saw that Michael Bisping had the belt. He knew that a fight between himself and Bisping would be a money fight and a fight that he could win. And this is what I see that Jon Jones is doing. Now, the people that he is speculated to fight are no joke. We got people in that division like Curtis Blades, and that's one of the lower end fights that he could get. He has Francis Ngannou, whose power is unheard of. And we got Stipe Miocic, the tactician, the champion, the person that has an amazing team who comes with a calculated approach. And I would put Stipe's team up there in terms of the approach that they have with Jon Jones's team. But a fight between them would be amazing due to the fact that we have two of the lighter heavyweights going at it. The ones with the great movement, the ones with the striking ability that is supremely fluid. A fight between Stipe and Jon Jones would be, in my opinion, one of the best fights ever. Because of the nature of it, we got the technical ability of someone from a lighter weight division, but the power as well. I believe when Jon Jones gets that weight on, he's going to have an even more knockout capability than he has. So let's start from the beginning on what happened. Jon Jones tweeted out, "Just got off the phone with the UFC today. I confirmed that I'm vacating the light heavyweight championship. It's officially up for grabs. It's been an amazing journey. Sincerely, thank you to all my competitors, the UFC, and most importantly, the fans." So there we saw where Jon Jones vacated the belt. At the time, I was confused. I said, whoa, he just let go of the light heavyweight championship? Is he actually going to retire like he says he is? But in my mind, there was no way this was happening. This fueled the fire that he was going to the heavyweight division, because we just came off of the fight between DC and Stipe, which he's kind of jumping on the clout of that fight. The next tweet after that: "In good faith, I will be staying in the testing pool for probably the next half year or so. I'll continue to lift weights and train all the different martial arts." At this point, it was known that he was going to the heavyweight division. That's exactly what he said. Just by saying that he's going to be lifting those weights and still training. After that tweet, he said that he had a really positive conversation with the UFC. "Sounds like there'll be negotiations for my next fight at heavyweight. All good news. The weight gaining process begins." This is where Jon Jones, this is where his career in the heavyweight division will either flourish or flounder. How will he gain the weight? Is he just going to eat a lot, or is he going to do what he says by lifting heavy amounts of weight? How will this affect him? Like I reiterated countless times in this podcast now, Jon Jones' fluidity and his striking abilities to flow, find openings, is one of his key tools that he uses. how will that be affected by the muscle gain that he has, by the overall weight gain that he has? I noticed with fighters like Luke Rockhold, who I previously talked about in a podcast, they gain weight they gain weight like crazy. They lift weights, they're eating more, and everything seems positive behind the scenes. But is it really? I believe that they believe that. But at the end of the day, it's nothing like getting into a fight with someone who naturally is in that weight class. Stipe is naturally in the heavyweight division. We saw him fighting DC. He was around 233 pounds and he had a six-pack. It didn't look like he had fat on him. He belongs in that weight division. I think Jon Jones will look something like that. He fights in the 205 division, but he's known to walk around 230, 240-ish. I remember seeing Jon Jones in a submission BJJ match. I believe it was Chael Sonnen's. Now, that gave me a good perspective on how Jon Jones looks outside of camp. He looked a little thicker, but the ability that he had in the scrambles in that fight really showed me that he's still capable of moving. He's able to freely move and react properly, even though he had that weight. Another thing that Jon Jones tweeted, that he was just answering a fan, but I thought it was really interesting because it reminded me of the family genetics that are in the Jones family. He says, "It would be fun, but have you seen the size of the guys in my family? I really do believe putting a little extra weight is going to bring out my true genetic / athletic potential." Now, the ending of that is what piqued my interest. My true genetic / athletic potential. Because of the genetics that I've seen in the family, these guys are meant to be big boys. And like I said previously, by watching that Chael Sonnen submission show, it seemed like Jon Jones was really comfortable with that weight. We even saw that in the second fight between Jon Jones and Cormier, which was a no contest. Before that fight, Jon Jones was lifting a heavy amount of weight. He looked massive. He went to some sort of bodybuilding gym, it seemed like, and what all reports were saying. And he was lifting incredible amount of weight. And it looked like he looked proportional. It looked like that weight belonged on him. You ever see someone walking around and they're disproportional? The weight doesn't look right on them. It seems like they're kind of drowning in the muscle that they have. But when Jon Jones gains the weight, because we see him gain and fluctuate with his weight, gain, lose, but the weight gain looks proportional on Jon Jones. That's why I compare him to Stipe Miocic. I don't compare the striking style, because Stipe relies on his boxing, but Jon Jones is more of a Muay Thai striker who has a greater wrestling ability because of his JUCO background. I don't compare them in the striking sense. I compare them in visually looking at them and the weight that they are known to fluctuate in. Stipe, being the professional, stays at his normal weight. You don't really see him gain too much or lose too much. Jon Jones is somewhat similar, but I believe he'll be a constant at the heavyweight, in the heavyweight division. It's not like we're going to see him gain a crazy amount of weight, go up to 260 or something crazy like that. Jon Jones, I think, will stay around 230, 240. Now, here's the real question. We've read all these tweets now. Who's next for Jon Jones in the heavyweight division? I believe that Francis Ngannou deserves a title shot with Stipe. And Stipe deserves to fight Francis again. And if he is able to, beat him in a more dominant fashion. Maybe a knockout, if that's possible. But that's how I see Francis, what he needs. But like Jon Jones is saying and reiterating, that he still needs time to gain the weight. And to do it properly, this is not a overnight thing. You need months to gain that weight properly. Working with dietitians, working with strength and conditioning coaches. It takes a lot of time. So with that time available, why not have Stipe and Francis fight each other? And the winner of that gets to fight Jon Jones. Because of the name recognition and because of the groundbreaking thing that's happening, where the greatest of all time in this era is going up into another weight division, that's going to sell itself. Jon Jones is one of the greatest stars in the UFC currently. So him going and getting that heavyweight belt, it's just going to pay for itself. Jon Jones was also asked in that same tweet that he talked about his brother. He said, "You have no desire to be a double champ?" And he said, "It would have been fun, but have you seen the guys in my family?" That same tweet I was talking about. Jon Jones brings up a really good point here. Think of all of the double champs, aside from Amanda Nunes, because she's just amazing and is able to go back and forth in weight. But they all lose it at the end of the day. DC, his rival, also lost the belt. So Jon Jones, like I said so many times, is calculated and super smart in his decisions. He knows that at the end of the day, yes, he can be a double champ. He'll be regarded. He'll be in regards with all those double champs. But at the end of the day, you're going to lose that belt no matter what. You're going to lose one of them. And he is one of those people that just wants to wipe out a division. He wants to go in there and do his best in that division. And doing his best and thriving for that greatness in this weight division, you can't fluctuate from 205 to 230 or whatever weight he's going to be in, or whatever weight he's going to be in the heavyweight division. It's just not possible to fluctuate like that. Because if he wants to keep both belts, it'll be like a teeter-totter. He'll go to 205, he'll go to heavyweight. He'll go to light heavyweight, he'll go to heavyweight. So the best thing for him to do is exactly what he's saying. Stay at one weight division. And he has chosen now to be in the heavyweight division. This is great stuff. This is something that we've always talked about. This is something that we always bring up with Jon Jones. Why is he not going to the higher weight division? He's doing it now. What a time to be an MMA fan. This is a great time. And I love talking about this stuff. Thank you for taking the time and listening to this podcast. I really appreciate it. And I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.